I'm going to deviate a little bit from the schedule. We have someone here Mary Coles, who has agreed to talk with us. She is a sexual assault nurse examiner with Jackson Madison County General Hospital, who serves many of these counties, even though it's located in Jackson. And Mary has agreed to talk a little bit about what she does, but also a little bit about the healthcare costs. And we know you got short notice, and we appreciate you being here, Mary.
Thank you. Who am I? I'm Mary Jane Braswell Cole. I grew up in Gibson County in Humboldt. I left after going to nursing school and didn't return until 2010. The last part of my nursing career was involved in the assault and violence against women and children. In 1998, I finished my bachelor's. I started with a sexual assault program in Everett, Washington. Continued on to complete my forensic nursing course at the University of Washington, and continued to serve as a sexual assault nurse examiner and a colposcopy assistant examining young children. So with that said, when I moved here to Tennessee, it took me a little while to convince people in Jackson that I could provide them a service by being on call as a sexual assault nurse examiner. And I've done that for about a year and a half, and have found many differences in the way that things are done both in Washington and Tennessee. So I'm still learning the Tennessee system, so hopefully I will not bub and say something that I'm still in the learning process. When I looked at the statistics, Mike Holt, H-O-L-T, is the SANE-SART law enforcement program manager for the program at Jackson General Hospital. He initiated the grants that came out of VOCA in order to have nurses trained to provide sexual assault examination and forensic documentation and collection. This program has been going on now for about 6 to 7 years. It's a 24/7. There are nurses that are primarily on call. Some are based in the emergency room as regular ED nurses. I go in on call approximately 20 shifts a month. And so I see a fair number of the victims who come into the emergency department. The program itself needs to grow. Victims of sexual assault need to know that we're there. Can I just have a raise of hands of people who did not know that Jackson had a sexual assault SANE program? Okay, so it's about a quarter. So we need to let the public know that we are available to provide them physical examinations, forensic documentation. The new Tennessee law is very much like the Washington state law, where that a victim does not have, over the age of 18, does not have to report to law enforcement unless, to exceptions, there is a gun or other sort of deadly weapon. But that's my understanding. So many of the women that we see, and young men oftentimes, don't have to report. Law enforcement have difficulty with that, and I can understand that. This is a crime against the state of Tennessee. I hear so many victims saying, I don't want to prosecute. And I say, you don't do that. The Tennessee people do that because this is a crime against the state of Tennessee and the people. So all you have to do is be a witness to what has happened to you and to be forthright and allow people to assist them in the system. So as these people come in, we try to connect them with the WRAP, the Tennessee Legal Services, the Carl Perkins Center if it's a child. And I think that for the most part, most of these victims hopefully leave in a lot better state of mind than when they first came in. When I looked at just the Gibson County, because I didn't realize this was having several different counties, we serve a lot of the counties. Some of the emergency departments in the counties that are further away from Madison County, the emergency room nurses will do cases, or some of those nurses have been trained in the sexual assault care. So Looking at Gibson County, these statistics are really dismal in the fact that we only saw about from, let's see, July 1st of 2010 to June 18th of 2013, approximately 13 post-pupescent, means teens and adults, and about 5 of those were prepubescent, being the child abuse. This is specifically sexual abuse. So the word's not out there. People don't come to see us for many, many reasons, but we need to let them know in our publics, in our communities, and our families that the program is there, and that oftentimes the victims find that they have a lot more support than they realize. And we look at them as objective and unbiased. And I find that I tell police officers, don't go in with rose-colored glasses. When we have those predispositions to whether or not the victim is telling the truth or not, then we color the way that we're going to put down our reports, do our statistics. When I looked at the physical cost, that I was told a level 3 at the emergency department is pretty much where we place most of the patients in regarding to the physical cost, and that's about $500. Up to a level 5 is $1,250. Now that's the amount that the state of Tennessee will provide for forensic medical care. If the victim has increased cost because of physical injuries, then this goes up. So they may have physical injuries covered by their insurance. If they're not insured, then this, basically the hospital is not reimbursed for these costs. In average, 15% of the debt from the emergency room billing is never recovered. So we can look, $10,000, and we can estimate from that about $1,500. I would like to see that forensic nurses' documentation of physical injuries be extended to domestic violence victims. My program in Washington State did this, and we just exploded with the number of people that would come in and have additional documentation. Maybe this was a first or second assault. It may have been one of many assaults, but many eventually found, because we were able to hook them up with services with the domestic violence providers, and they went on to be able at some point in time to leave their offending partner and also to start a new life. The other thing is, as a public knowledge, that we are present in Madison County, and I personally feel that anyone who has had a sexual assault needs care of some sort, whether it be total forensic care or medical forensic care or just medical documentation. And I see Daryl just shaking her head, yes. We've got to know each other the last few months, and I think she understands my thoughts about the victimization of women and children in this county. Thank you very much for your time and for listening.
If that's okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your remarks, and I want to be sure, I couldn't hear some of it. You're saying covers just sexual trafficking now?
It only covers sexual assault, which includes rape and other types of child or adult sexual abuse.
And you would like to see it include domestic violence, is that what you said?
I would. Now, sane nurses do not practice independently. We practice within a medical system. So the documentation, because it's more extensive, includes medical photographs. The person may come into the emergency room more likely with a report that they have injuries. With greater exploration, they may find that this was the result of an assault against them, and they can be offered this additional documentation. And this is often very helpful for law enforcement, because this has given them the extra step to say to the judge, this is what I have from the hospital documentation, even though this perhaps the victim is not fully expressing how bad they were injured.
So this would just cover Madison County?
No, we see anyone who comes into Jackson from all the surrounding counties.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much.